use the Force, Luke.
Because sometimes truth isn't good enough.
I feel the need for speed.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna?
Cause it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
That's right. It's Wednesday. It's 9, and you know what that means. It's FrostCast. King Z, come on in. We got a lot to cover today. Different topics that we're throwing down. There are a couple of newsworthy things, so we're focusing a little bit back on that tonight, as opposed to kind of we've taken this recent deviation into like some personal picks in different genres and discussions, which have been a blast. But I figured it was time just to shift gears and let people in on some of the things that are going on, because there is something fairly big lurking right around the corner tomorrow. As a matter of fact, comes out the ass end of Thursday, 4 a.m. or something like that. I kind of wanted to get a couple of questions off my chest, because I know you do a little bit more of the comics, but I don't even think this was your growing up. So you might not be able to expert your way out of this situation for a change when it comes to the comics. Usually you're more of a Marvel guy.
I was more of a Marvel guy.
Yeah. So, but if we're just going to jump right in, let's just do it. The DCU kicks off this week with kind of their soft intro to their new plan. It's a planned universe of a lot of stuff. I'm hearing we got TV shows, we've got movies that start with Superman, July 2025. They got games on their slate, believe it or not, after Kill the Justice League just tanked, and a bunch of other AAA titles. Now, here we go. Mages is back talking
That's
about
right.
it. All right. Maybe Mages can help us out here too. That'd be great. Good to see. Good to see. They got a lot of stuff planned, and it's wild to me that they've decided to start with Creature Commandos. Wild, right? Because it's not something I feel like literally anybody, unless you lived at a comic store growing up in like the 80s, and then their reintroductions, that they've had a couple of reintroductions that I came across. Is this a wise idea? Like, it just seems like such a wild choice. And then to go with an animated show on top of that, what a wild format to go with for your opening salvo. What do you think of that, man?
Well, DC had a lot of obscure comics to begin with, a lot of titles. I found out a lot of them during the New 52 era when they launched that. Was that back in like 2003? I think they did the New 52 launch around that time.
It's been a hot minute. I don't remember.
It's been a while. I think I was still living in Miami when it launched. So you got to see a lot of obscure titles like Earth 2, Army Men. So you got to see a lot of their different stuff they had. I didn't say it was good, Mage. I didn't say it was good. I just said that when they launched it, you saw that they had a lot of obscure titles.
I would agree.
So
it was not my favorite either. But the Rebirth was any better.
And then after the lukewarm response and then the dying off of Doom Patrol, I think going animated would probably be best for a title like this.
I think so too. I had an article up in the back. I'm not going to bother doing the screen share bit. It's buried under some crap. It was that Screen Rant article that I showed you earlier. If you jump down a couple of paragraphs, Gunn says that one of the things he was interested in getting a project like that into the animated form was that not only does it allow him to do wild stuff in terms of what would be overspent on screen if they did it live action with CG, but content wise, it allows them to target different levels of maturity for different demographics and the different groups that they want to bring eyeballs in from. So they can give you a kid's cartoon, then they could give you something more straight up for adults. And he said, for Creature Commandos, it's pretty sexual and violent in different places, but I didn't think it was that sexual or violent. I would say the Peacemaker show, these are his words, the Peacemaker show was more of both. So yeah. I think he's looking forward to playing around in a larger sandbox than something like Marvel ever would have given him had they not unceremoniously dislodged him from over there. He just says, I suggest, Lady Death and Prejudice is Brian Polito is a buddy. Yep, for sure. So I think Gunn's looking forward to it, dude. But I still don't know. Does this not present them with too big of a scope to maybe try to manage and wrestle down? I don't know.
That's why he's trying to take his time. I think he's not rushing it. Like I remember they've Superman has been in the can for a good hot minute now, but they wanted to really take their time with the CGI and the visual effects and everything with it. So to get it right. So if they take their time and plan it out properly, I mean, Marvel did it fine through phase 3. Like how they paced everything out and got everything kind of on the same storyline. They built the characters. And I think we'll get the same thing with the DCU. James Gunn's no stranger to building stuff like this. So, I mean, look at the Guardian of the Galaxy. That was his baby that they gave him. And he's the one who built it into one of the most beloved Marvel small franchises that they had.
Yeah, trilogy within the phases, yeah. That's a good comp too. I think that's the no-brainer one to make too, is that he got a bunch of people to show up to 3 movies about a bunch of nobody characters that are all over the place in terms of style and design. But they did center it around Star-Lord, who's half human. So they gave you a good anchor to build around. But we got talking trees, we got animatronic raccoons, we got green chicks, we got cybernetic enhanced chicks, we got intergalactic peacekeeping forces that are all over them. It's wild. So I think Creature Commandos is because I had to, in total disclosure, I had to go back and read up on them. Like it's nothing that I had come across growing up in my own kind of reading habits, but it's like they took I read a clip in a different article that was like the guy that pitched them went to his editor and was like, at the time they were written, they were like, why don't we take all like the classic, Universal horror movies or whatever, and imagine if they went to fight in World War II. And the editor was like, that's such a stupid idea. It's going to work. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. It's kind of like when we talk about pitch meetings day and age, and they're like, it's John Wick meets this, it's Freddy Krueger meets that. And because when you can get people to conceptualize things in terms of mashups, leave that one up for me. And when you can get people to think up in terms of mashups, it makes it easy to visualize. People tend to open up the wallets a little bit more because they can see how that might be an attractive project. You know what I'm saying? So I think they get off there. Kevin, what's up, bud? Kevin says David Zaslav listening to shareholders for sure. James Gunn, Superman has to make a profit at the box office. So, dude, hands down, dude. If that movie does not do well, they shutter that project. It's all over. There's no other skin in the game cooking for them after that, besides the Batman 2, and they don't have a script for that yet, as far as anybody I think is talking about.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that they're going to pull the Batman into the DCU.
I'm here. No, I think that's never been the intention. Is the Reeves verse is its own thing.
Yeah.
If they did any kind of crossover, I would be surprised. If they pulled it in, I would be doubly surprised. If they actually had Pattinson as their Batman, you're more likely to get Batfleck back, in my opinion. As the Brave and Bold Bat, which would be dope. Let's be honest. Can we get some Jensen Ackles up in here to be that? May just says, I'm excited for Superman. Dude, for sure. Them adding crypto to the film sold you on it instantly. I'm of mixed feelings on that. I saw, Kingsley, did you see that still image that went around? It's Superman sitting next to his dog. He's sitting next to crypto.
No, I didn't see that. It came out a couple
of months ago. Yeah, that's as May just says in another comment I see down below. He was a fan favorite, 2 generations ago, and I think that's the trick. Is they're going to try to balance classic era Superman stuff that's a little bit more hopeful, a little more bright, colorful, those kind of things to kind of re-energize after Man of Steel, which I liked. But nobody wants to see Superman destroying buildings and snapping necks Van Damme style. I think that's done. Like I think we need bright blue, bright red and yellow, hope, stopping cars, the speeding bullet thing. We need all of that back desperately in superhero movies right now, because they're all the same. They're all not fun. I'll say that much on that anyway, dude, for sure. I feel you on that. But the Superman thing next year, that is absolutely a make or break thing. But they have to get through this first hump first that we're talking about right now with Creature Commandos. I don't know how an animated show, it is a soft intro, but it's like it's December. It's early December. We have to go another 7 months to get into Superman. And I don't even, they have a title for it, right? Is it Superman Reborn?
Legacy.
Legacy. Yes, that's right. Legacy. So we got to kill 7 months. So this is a soft intro, but this I think is going to be done and forgotten as soon as it ends. And then you've got months of a drought of DCU content, movie wise, to get over there. So it's going to be, I think that's a challenge for them. But some of these characters are wild, dude. Did you see any of these characters like in reading up on them?
Well, I think I saw the original trailer when it was first announced.
Yeah.
Of Creature Commandos, and I know you had like the Bride of Frankenstein, and
Yep,
you
the
have
Bride. Yep.
you do have the Weasel from the Suicide Squad
Squad.
too, which is bled over into this, which was also directed by James Gunn. You have you have the Mummy.
They had a werewolf that was called
Werewolf
Wolfpack in one version. They have in this version they've got it's a fish lady, mer lady scientist type. I can't remember the name. I just read it like 10 minutes ago. I think I have it up. Hold on, I'll hold that just so I don't sound like a complete moron. Let me roll down here. They had a vampire. They changed the name around because it used to be originally the last name was Velcro. They changed it to Velcoro, thankfully. Dr. Nina Mazursky, an amphibious scientist. Sean Gunn's playing an android called GI Robot, a World War II era Nazi killing android. So I mean, this sounds straight up like Guardians of the Galaxy to me, man.
Yeah,
like straight up, like they're gonna go throw a bunch of funny crap at the wall, as violent as they can get it, as probably overtly hypersexualized as they can get it, and they're gonna go from there. I'm taking a look. I don't know that I'll review it. We're not planning on watching it as a team, as far as I recall.
No, this was never on the watch list. I think after we're done with the two that we're doing now, I think the next one is Born Again.
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. If we have to find something, well, we could probably do Squid Game in between, just as an aside, since that comes out at the end of the month. I'd be down for something like that. But I'm interested because from what I saw in the trailer of Creature Commando, it looks like it's got old school animation to it. Like it's not that rounded off Shrek Pixar kind of animation. It looks flat, like 2D, like hand drawn, not digital.
It's going the way of the 90s style animation, like with like the X-Men coming back out and stuff like that. I think it's sticking with that. I do believe it's going to be on Max for streaming. Is that where it's going to be? I believe it is because I think they're on the DC rights.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100% for sure. Mages, I'll be reaching out after for sure. I was just busy at work as all hell today. We can talk some details for sure.
Yeah, I was reconfiguring switches all day. Oh.
Yep, dude, it was a long one today, dude. Lots of people went inpatient today ahead of the holidays. We'll just say that. Yeah, dude, I'm excited to take a look at something new. We've done okay with the very limited amount of animated stuff we watched on the show. We watched Terminator a month ago. That was all right. We had a good watch at that. I've watched a couple of other things. I'm probably going to pick up Arcane, although I heard season 2 wasn't that good. I'll probably just watch season 1 because a lot of people said it's a pretty good show. But I don't know. I don't know a whole lot else about Creature Commandos to talk on story arcs or anything like that. So I won't be able to judge if they're lifting things from the books well or not well. So I mean, there's that.
Yeah. The only thing I also saw with is like Amanda Waller is going to be heavily involved in this. Like she is Suicide Squad. So
sure, and I saw that Viola Davis's name is up there in the credits, so she's reprising that role as well, which is good. I think she's kind of become a fixture in that role in a bunch of projects that they've done. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. I think that can swing us right into topic number 2. It's also James Gunn related. And I think this one offers a little bit more introspection, or lends itself to some introspection. There was another article, I think it was also in Screen Rant, where they were asking James Gunn what his thoughts were on planning long-term and developing the DCU over time. Because we all seen out of Marvel, when Chris Evans, RDJ, and, Chris Hemsworth, all these other folks picked up their initial contracts, they were much, much younger people. So eventually you age out. Actors want to move on to other projects. They want more money and you can't afford them. Budgets get blown out of proportion. It's all awful stuff. So the interviewer had asked Gunn what his thoughts were on recasting versus retiring. And I'm like, it hadn't occurred to me before because I just don't care that much about Marvel after phase 3, like we were talking a minute ago, that the recasting route probably would have saved them a lot of hassle. Like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily think that they can't recast Iron Man as RDJ. Maybe you just don't do it right away. You have a gap of time in between the last RDJ Iron Man and then new Actor X Iron Man. But if you can recast Batman, Superman, James Bond, and a bunch of, those kind of roles, why can't I recast Thor? They recast the Hulk 6 times since you've been 10 years old.
Yeah, they really have.
So, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on Gunn's approach? It seems to me like if he's open to either of those things for long term, like retire this character if there's nobody to fill the shoes versus recast if I've got some young, good-looking, studly dude to replace Captain America. Let's hire him.
Well,
I think flexibility is good.
You kind of have to. I mean, if you're going to try to stay true to the comics, I mean, if you really think about it, like Superman was set back in the 50s and 60s, but he kept changing as the time grew. Batman set around the same time frame, and then he grew and his technology grew as the age changed. And they didn't change Batman. Bruce Wayne never really aged, just the time around him changed. So recasting is, just staying true to how the comic books are written. I don't see why you would retire a character unless you're killing them off for dramatic effect. Like they literally die, sure. And that way you stay forward. And like Vision, even though Vision is an android, if they kill him off and they let him stay dead, and they have White Vision come in, who's a completely different character than Vision, then it could work that way. But there's no sense of retiring characters. And even some of the actors, like Chris Evans, said he'll come back and be Captain America, which they can always do because they can just grab him from the past, or like they've proven they can do time travel. And they've proven there's multiverse, so they're getting away from multiverse. So that is always good.
Thank God, because I think that's run its course. But I think more importantly, not even just necessarily lifting the character on the screen from the past or from a multiverse. We've seen the improvements in the de-aging tech over the last couple of years. Like some of this stuff is starting to be eerily effective. Like that Star Trek short that came out last week, that Unification film, like where they de-aged, 147-year-old William Shatner back down to like 90-year-old and all the way back down to like 30 and 50-year-old versions. Like it's starting to look pretty good in less uncanny valley. So I don't see, like, even if they wanted to retire, like if they wanted to do like the Civil War thing straight out of the books and have Captain America get assassinated on the steps of the White House or the Congressional Building or wherever it was, you could just put that character away for 2 years, do the Bucky thing in between, and then bring back Chris Evans and de-wrinkle his ass if you needed to. I don't see why we shouldn't be thinking of doing more stuff like that, because then it lends itself to that longevity and that planning. I think the mess they got themselves into here now is that they wanted to change gears too much. They were more interested in bringing in L-tier characters that nobody was ever going to really gravitate to, and double and triple down on keep bringing them back into more things, and then overcomplicating the whole thing with the Disney Plus stuff. I think that was a major tactical blunder.
Yeah.
The TV was allowed to drive the movie.
In which I think they did right the first time, because you remember they had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during the first 3 phases, and the events in Captain America Winter Soldier influenced how the show went. And actually, the writers had to change where they were going in the show at the time because of what happened in Winter Soldier. Even though technically it's supposed to be a different timeline, they said later that it wasn't in the same universe.
They tried, yeah.
Yeah, even though they did have Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in the show. They had Coulson, but it was supposed to be a different Coulson, different timeline type thing. Even though he was still stabbed and killed, they had a way of bringing him back. If I'm spoiling Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for you, I'm sorry. The show's been out for 15 years now. So sorry, but oh well.
Dude, I was watching somebody, I think I was watching somebody talking about Skeleton Crew earlier, and they referenced, what the hell did they reference? I think they might have referenced like Luke's aunt and uncle getting torched, something like that, right? And it was like, spoiler alert, I'm really sorry. This shit's been out for 50 years. If you haven't seen episode 4, A New Hope yet, like I can't help you. So yeah, this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s 15 years old. The hell else can you do? But like that's the important thing, like you just said about Civil War, it trickled down to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean? Like now we've got things like WandaVision, Loki, Winter Soldier, and Captain whoever, Falcon, whatever, that show, the one I don't like, trickling up. And like it's making it that way. They think I'm going to go back and watch that meme of a show, that terrible political lecture of a show from 6 years ago, before I go see a movie next February that's been reshot 4 times. Nah, dude, I'm good. I'm all set with that. Can't do it. You know, I can't take on that breadth of work.
I'm still holding out high hopes for it. One, just because I want them to keep my scene and I want to see myself in it. But other than that,
are you allowed to talk about that yet?
No, I am not.
Okay.
Not until it comes out. But
never mind.
And I
get him
based
in trouble.
Based on the reshoots, I do not think this scene is sticking. So it'll be just like me in Green Zone. He's trying to get on the cutting wood floor, and no one will ever see my lines with Matt Damon.
I was like, you were in Green Zone next to the guy defusing the bomb, but like they just moved the frame over enough.
They cut the whole scene. They cut out of what we shot that whole week. They kept about 45 seconds of everything we shot that week.
Oh, so instead of just cropping you out, they're just like, nah.
Yeah, they just cut the whole thing.
Sons of bitches, dude. They get you coming and going, man.
I am a blur in the background, though. You can see me as a blur in the background.
Back of your head, just kind of hanging out. It's just gonna look.
No, I'm literally out of focus.
Oh, okay. There we go. So literally, it could be any dude, your height, your weight, light complexion.
Yeah,
got it.
But I got the picture to prove it. I got the pass, and and I definitely got the pay. So
there you go. He's been boots on the ground. He's been boots on the ground in a movie. We'll give him that. He's our resident actor, which is cool. But let me just talk James Gunn for another minute as the thought just occurred to me. I wonder if, because I think this dude is like borderline. I don't want to be rude, be offensive. I think he's borderline, like maybe he's got a touch of something of the tism or the burgers. Like, because we've seen how they were going to have him plan out the cosmic stuff for Marvel for the phase 4 and beyond that just didn't work out. Do you think he actually has like a 10-year plan that would involve needing to know at this point who I might retire, who I might have to recast? Like the guy playing Superman, I think is a couple of years younger than I am. Like I think Tyler, whatever his name is, that's Tyler something, right?
It's something
Tyler,
like that.
Or was that the guy on Superman and Lois? I don't know. I might mix them all up. But the guy they hired, I think, is already in his early 40s. He just looks younger. He's not doing Superman at 50, I don't think. So I wonder if Gunn has that kind of long-term plan.
It's David.
It's kind of wild.
It's David. Cornsweet, and he's significantly younger than you.
Is he? I thought he was already 40.
No, he's 31.
Okay, he's significantly younger than me. So he's got his 10 years then. But I wonder if for other characters that they might be bringing into some of their other stuff, like the Lantern show, you know what I mean, or other things that they're planning on doing live action. I don't even know that we know what the slate would be that they have planned after Superman. I don't think they've made any kind of announcements about what they want to do.
No. I know they were talking, they were bringing people in for casting of the Batman, of their Batman, I should say, not the Batman. That's a whole nother thing. They have that Batman, but of casting their Batman. I think if he's going to do it right, I think they need to bring in, which I believe has been the best DC thing that they've made in a while, is the Arrowverse. But not bringing in people from the Arrowverse, but characters from the Arrowverse. Like Green Arrow is a very interesting character. Flash, you definitely need Flash. He's one of the big ones. But they had a lot of small ones in there too that would blend well, I think, in this universe because they don't get enough screen time.
We got a good comment there from Brick Kid. If you can pull that up so I can read it on the big screen, because I did hear that. And I think they had a casting announcement on that as well. Can you pull that up for me? Brick Kid, I believe Supergirl was announced to be out early 2026. Correct. Because I believe they cast the young lady from House of the Dragon. Young Rhaenyra, the blonde one.
Yeah. So, I believe she's having a cameo in Superman Legacy.
Okay,
so she's going to be in that.
Stinger scene. You know what I mean? At the end, like maybe her pod lands, they kind of speed up that timeline. Since this isn't a Superman origin, Mage's Guild, Green Lantern, those go. Dude, Green Lantern, Kingsley and I have talked about Green Lantern a couple of times. Like, it was just a crap script, but it's not like I don't get how that movie couldn't work. Like a superhero that can create light-based constructs from his will. Like, there's no way to get that to work, really. Like, we couldn't build into something really cool like the Blackest Night line. And get that story arc as to avoid the whole, do we have to do Parallax for the 70th time? Probably not. Like there's other things. Do we have to do the yellow ring thing again? Probably not. Like there are ways to do that character. I think it was just a really garbage script at a point in time where superhero movies just kind of sucked. I mean, unless it was early phase Marvel, but I'm down for Green Lantern, and they could pick literally anyone they want, and I'd be happy with it. Just don't start with the girl. Just don't start. It's Jessica Reyes, I think, right?
I think they did. I think they did cast Green Lantern already.
They cast 2 of them for the series, but I want
the series. That's right.
Yes.
It's going to be Green Lantern series, and they cast them.
Right.
That's correct. And I believe that's going to be part of the DCU. So
dude, everything from here on out is in. It's them, except the Reeves thing that we mentioned earlier, and that's at this point that's still vaporware as far as I'm concerned. Like when they give me a story update, or Gunn says, "Oh, I've been talking to Matt, and the script is in. We're going to start shooting." Okay, then it's real. But until now, like, do you see Pattinson talking about that? Anybody on his Twitter? Is he talking about getting geared up and in shape? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. You're reading that one from Anthony?
Yeah, I just saw that from Anthony. Yeah, right there.
Dude, they look worse than that. And Polar Express is 20 years old. But
yeah,
Green Lantern would be a great thing to open with. And I know you're a big fan of Martian Manhunter. I know you want to see Martian Manhunter.
I want to see Martian Manhunter have a big screen. I want him to have his own movie and then tie him into the Justice League. I think the Justice League needs a build like the Avengers, not one movie here and then, okay, it's time to put them all together.
They're going to be teaching that in film schools for decades. Dude, do me a favor. Bring me up Mages Guild right under that starts with an anecdote. As an anecdote, I predicted a postcard scene with Sinestro. Dude, my friend, I did too with the yellow ring. I did too, and that's one of my Raina. Did I say Rhaenyra? I do. They're all the same. They're all blonde. It's one of the only shows where I'm okay with the race swap, because really, all white people that are all blonde made that show really difficult. But the yellow ring thing for sure. I wanted more of Sinestro, and I thought that was one of the most disappointing things of that movie underperforming so poorly is we never got that sequel. I was down for that. I was 100% down for that. Who was the actor that played Sinestro in that? That wasn't Mark Strong, right?
No, I don't think so.
But anyway, I thought he was a great actor in that role, like the solemn, serious Lantern that had to break and want to achieve more power to enforce his will.
You're right. It was Mark Strong.
Boom.
Mark Strong's been in way more stuff than I thought he was.
Yeah, he's not just in stuff now that he's 60. Yeah, he's been in stuff. But I'm down, and that's the thing too, because they have an entire. We're going to change the topic right now, right? They've got an entire spectrum of rings that they can draw from. You don't want to see Atrocitus, really? You don't want to see them square off with the red ring? Come on, of course you'd want to see that. That's what I'm saying, dude. It was terrible across 6 different families on that show. But anyway, the rings,
and then the build to the white ring, and see how elevate, and then you have then you have him teaching the future Green Lanterns and stuff like that.
Dude, and then they can bring in Jessica Reyes or whatever her name is. But that's my problem. Is I feel like they're going to get off to a good jump, but then they'll do stupid things like Marvel recently did, where they skip over 20 years of stuff to get to present day, like how with Marvel's done that by bringing in the Riri Williams at the wrong time. We're skipping over a bunch of good Hawkeye stuff to get to Kate Bishop quicker. Why are we doing these things? We have all these Green Lantern stories we can tell with the other. I mean, we've got Hal, we've got Kyle, we've got the other
John Stewart.
Right, I'm saying we've got 3 of them we can use that everybody knows. They're basically household names for DC fans. But here we are. I know they're thinking it, because they're like, oh my God, look, we can be inclusive and grab literally everybody on in one go with this one character.
It's the same thing. You have the Green Lantern Corps, and you can then go with the Speed Force Corps with Flash, and then have Wes and Barry and all the other different Flashes that were out there, Gus and.
Right, but you start with the one that's had the most airtime previously, that has the best comic sales, that has the most notoriety in the public eye. That's how you do. That's how you get it done, for sure, dude. Exactly. That's another great idea. Yep, dude. I need Lanterns to be good. Green Lantern's been butchered so many times in live action. Where else has he been butchered besides the Reynolds movie? Was he on the Arrowverse? Did he show up there?
I think they were leaning towards what's his name becoming Lantern. His bodyguard.
Yes. Didn't he at one point have a box that grew out of it? Yeah. I remember. I saw just enough of that.
I
would
need
take
to
some
go
Hawk
back
Girl
and
as well.
watch their Arrowverse. Not all of it. I think I just really.
I've heard the first 4 seasons solid, right? Like it kind of falls off.
It
It
changes mood. Like the first season's very dark, and Stephen
Yeah.
Amell was really coming into his own as an actor in that too.
He was not good in
He was
season
very
1.
stiff. He was very stiff. I think later on he loosened up a little more, and like when he was playing the Arrow, I think it was better when he was in that. But when he was trying to revert back into Oliver Queen is when he had the hardest time, because he never really let go of that whole Arrow personality when he was trying to be a separate character as well, his alter ego, you could say.
Yeah, I remember right around when that show came out, I think is when Batman Begins came out, or it was close enough that I was comparing it in my mind. And I remember thinking how much better Christian Bale was as playing basically the same character in a lot of ways as Oliver Queen with the dual role. I get the hero with the mask, and then I've got to play out this other different role completely differently. And I remember thinking, Amell, dude's jacked. I'll give him all the credit in the world for getting in shape for the role. And chicks obviously digged it. You know what I mean? But it was very much a prototypical CW superhero show, and it wasn't just, you could tell it wasn't just a script. It was him. He wasn't ready yet, but he got there. It sounds like
the first season definitely you couldn't tell that was CW. It was later you just see that the CW's stank kind of rolled off onto it. But that first season was
Batwoman. Forget it.
It was good despite Stephen Amell still coming into his own. I still think he did a great job. I just think he was a little stiff.
Yeah, but it takes time.
I agree with Andre here.
I'm going to get a drink.
I think it's smart to start with Jon Stewart, with the whole generation of DC fans that grew up with the Green Lantern on the animated Justice League. And I think that's the smart way that they're doing.
Yep. Agreed. I've gone back and watched some of that as a first watch as I've been older. I've watched a good amount of it in my 30s, and I'm planning to go back and actually catching Batman the Animated Series, just as an aside, because I had aged out of that and I wasn't around to watch that first run. But I know, like, unequivocally that's a badass thing that I need to see. And I would say probably the same with Brave and the Bold. I need to go back and catch both of those. I waste enough time rewatching garbage. I can find the time to watch new stuff that's new to me, but old to everybody else, that at least is quality. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, I'm hopeful for the DCU. I guess that's my takeaway here, man, is that they do have so much they could work with that we haven't seen before. And I like up front that they've already said Superman Legacy isn't an origin story. We don't need to see Pa Kent dying. When they bring Batman in, we don't need to see the death of the Waynes. We know that. So we've seen Diana on the island. We don't need to see the Amazons and her growing up and training. I get that. Rick Kid, I've heard that, but I've heard they've been rough lately with their animation. They no longer dominate. I've heard there's been some rough entries. Maybe you can clue me in on that.
I'm still loving DCAU. The
some of the movies,
universes,
I've heard some of the movies are bad. I've heard they're not good. Recently,
I have really not found one that I haven't liked.
I'm shocked. Maybe we need to put together a playlist, and maybe we'd do some Wolf first watches, and you can coach me through some of the movies, because I've only seen like 2 of them, and probably like Mask of the Phantasm is one of them, and that's how old, 30 years old now. Probably doesn't hold up. I don't know, but that's a good one. But yeah, I was just saying they've got so many characters they can work with that we could be owed. Dude, that's what I'm saying, bro. That's Mage. That's what I'm saying. We all know how Peter Parker got to be Peter effing Parker. Like we all know. We get it. I don't even need a 10-second flashback of that anymore. The whole planet knows who these people are. Hit the ground running year 5. No year 1. No year 2. Year 5. Fully settled in. They got a grip on all their powers, but they're still being challenged, managing their day-to-day, their personas, keeping people safe versus an increasing challenge of villains. I'm down. You pick a D-list character and do that. Constantine DCAU also good. Interesting, because I'm in the minority. I like that movie. I like the live action with Keanu.
I think he did a fantastic job, and it has very deep storytelling in it that people didn't catch on. Like, they were expecting pretty much a superhero film, and what they got was a much deeper film, and Keanu just nailed it. I think them trying to get part 2, the sequel he wants to do. He's been fighting for it for years, and he can't get it.
And dude, as deep as that movie was, it didn't go as all out as it could have. Like, Hellblazer is no joke. as a comic. I just actually picked up a couple of the trades a couple months ago, some of the new stuff and a couple of the old ones, just as like a reread. And there's some effed up stuff in these books. Obviously, they can't get it in there for a PG-13 thing. But again, this is the kind of thing I think that appeals to somebody like James Gunn. You can take a book like Superman and you can make it dark. You shouldn't. We know that now in retrospect. But you could keep it for general audiences. That's your target. But something like Hellblazer, you can absolutely throw an R label on that, like Deadpool and Wolverine, and sell $1 billion worth of tickets and merch plus, because grown-ups will show up and they'll take age-appropriate kids. You know, it was so weird to me when I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. It was weird because it was like an 8-year-old in there with his mom.
Yeah,
like, this is a little sketchy. I don't know, Mom.
And the best part is that they bring their 8-year-old, they bring their 10-year-old, and then complain that this movie, it's like he warned you. He warns you guys every time. There's Facebook posts, there's ads.
Dude, they do it in the movie. They do it in the movie at the beginning. It's one of the opening commercials, dude. It's hilarious. I think in this one, he even gave him he said, I'm going to count down. You still got time to go. But no. But you're right. It's always funny when they complain after the fact.
Yeah, Mage's Guild. I completely agree with you on this one because I'm a big fan of animated movies compared to some of these live action ones because you can do so much more with the animated that doesn't look cheesy as it would in a live action film. I mean, pretty much some of the animated movies are these live action films, like live action Lion King is actually just the Lion King reanimated with CGI. That's all it is. It's no live action. Can you imagine the camera crew? All right, pan this forest. Okay, good pan, everyone. All right, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Dude, bring me up Brick Kid real quick. I gotta get a bigger monitor for this kind of stuff. Do we think Aquaman or characters not love need a backstory still? Okay, I think Aquaman is on the fence because he's had 2 movies and he's been in Justice League. So I think your movie going audience as a whole probably gets it. I think they laid out enough info, but somebody like Hawkman, somebody like a Green Lantern at this point, I don't think people would know. Who was the other one I just said? Somebody like Constantine, Hellblazer, that would be good. Anybody in the Lantern Corps at an extended level, especially the reds, yellows, blues, that would also be better. Supergirl would need a little bit of explanation because what we got in the crappy Flash movie, that's some stupid shit. Like nobody takes that seriously.
I have to say, once again, Arrowverse nailed the Supergirl backstory and everything like that. So
how late into their run was that?
I think they started Supergirl right around season 5 of Arrow and season 3 of Flash.
And they spun her into her own show, right? Because that's the one that was it Christina Benoit, whatever her name is?
Yeah, Benoit.
Benoit, right? So she got her own show that ran how many seasons? 5, 6. It went pretty good.
I think it was 5. I think it got
so it must have been okay.
4 to 5. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, major side note, at no point to adapting an animated live action Little Mermaid. Dude, they could have done that. They cast that wrong and the numbers proved it, and I'm sick and tired of pretending like it didn't. That absolutely could have dunked. Some of those songs are absolute gold from that movie in the 90s. The women in certain age brackets still belt them out in the car when they come on. You know?
I think for
this one's for you, Kingsley, for sure.
Based on the way they're doing the legacies and everything like that, I think it's going to be Wally is going to be the primary, and they're going to do the rescue Barry from the Speed Force and bring Barry in, and then you have both Wally and Barry. I think they're going to go with that story. But this is all speculation. I have no evidence of this. This is just me spitballing here in my head. So don't take that to the bank. But that is my guess. I think they're going to do Wally with the rescuing of Barry from the Speed Force.
So refresh my memory, just because again, I'm not giant on my Flash stuff. Who is Prime Flash right now on the show that ended or that's about to end? That's Barry, right?
That's Barry.
Okay. And he's the one whose mother was killed, and he's trying to do the back in time thing to
that caused the Flashpoint.
Yes, it caused Flashpoint, and he had to set that right. We got shades of that in the crappy movie. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had
the comic and the animated movie of it. Spot on. It was great.
I've seen IMDb reviews of that. I think it's like 9.7 or something like crazy. Like I know that's good. But I was thinking about what Brick Kid had asked a minute ago about characters that might still need the backstory. I think the Flash might be on that list because even though we've seen him around those groups, especially in the crappy Justice League movie, I don't think he got enough air. They focused more on the autism than they did anything else, and
Yeah.
the social awkwardness. I don't think they really gave me enough to
And
sort that out.
Barry's not socially awkward. Barry's
Right.
never been socially awkward.
Right. That's why the Ezra Miller casting was so stupid. We're just talking about bad casting. That was terrible casting.
Yeah.
Terrible. And he's obnoxious in real life. Somebody ought to choke slam his ass. Not that I'm advocating anybody do that. We're going to talk to the legal department now, Kingsley, if you'll excuse me. Right? They're calling me to HR already on our own show.
No, we choke slams are allowed. We
He
go
choke
by-
slammed that pregnant girl. Dude, like nobody in this conversation right here. If you saw Ezra Miller of all people, 100 pounds soaking wet, wearing boots and carrying a backpack, choke slam a pregnant girl, like you wouldn't just clothesline him to hell. Like you wouldn't put the JR voice on and just do it.
Yeah, we go by Hell in the Cell rules here when it
Right.
comes to our
You can't choke
reviews.
slam pregnant women on this show. It's the official show policy.
Hmm.
Can't do it.
No, we just put them through tables.
Table, get the table. Right. That'd be hilarious. We could do that. We need to get that soundbite. But yeah, I think DCU's got enough. They got a bright enough future for sure that they could do things if they stick to the plan. And that segues nicely into the next topic that I think we can do. And given the strong support of people in chat tonight, I'm guessing a lot of people have some opinions on this. We're going to talk about franchises with no plan. Well, Star Wars had no plan. And we're not going to rehash all that bullshit. People have been doing that for years. But I came across an article, I think it was on Giant Freaking Robot, in the last couple of days, where somebody had astutely pointed out something that I think we've talked about recently, either which way. We just had seen them come out with stupid articles out of Lucasfilm at Disney saying, Rey's our most valuable asset. I'm also not actually real life only because I care about them ruining my miss. Dude, hells yeah. Exactly. Cultural vandals, cultural Marxists. So Disney believes
We're the
most
toxic
valuable
fans.
Toxic fan, dude, you're a bunch of. I'll use everybody else's vernacular. We're the ists and the phobes that made all these things wealthy for 5 decades and supported every character they had that didn't look like us. So I don't know how that happened, fellas. It wasn't me. They think Rey is the cash cow. They think she's the go-to. Daisy Ridley's going to lead them forth into salvation. I don't buy it, but there is a female character that's highly bankable that, if executed properly, could mark some kind of turning of the tide, as Gandalf once prolifically said. Mara Jade. Mara Jade is unequivocally a secret weapon that Disney should be planning a project around, but not Mara Jade written by some blue-haired land whale who got a career starting a blog on Tumblr and now works for the Mary Sue, or she one of these kind of chicks on the working with Jessica Chao and She-Hulk. Like, no, we need proper Mara Jade. Proper Mara Jade. Starts off as the hand of the Emperor, intelligent, deadly, skilled, all these things, and then comes around. She has a growth. She has a character arc. She meets a Luke Skywalker in his prime, right? Tries to kill him sometimes, reluctantly needs to work with him. And then you have the fall in love story. It has everything you could. Dude, I know that. Dude, listen. I know they would. They ruined Luke. If they ruined Luke, they can ruin anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, in the right hands, unobstructed by what's colloquially called the message, as we all know, Mara Jade is exactly that person. She is the secret weapon that could put butts in seats, because tangentially, everybody would assume Luke is involved, and it may involve a retcon, and that's probably why they can't do it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the whole Rey thing, because I have something to say. Based on my comments before, I did say that she is going forward painting, but I want to clarify my thoughts. So let me get the camera here. I'm going to say that the only reason she's the bankable thing going forward is because they ruined everybody else. She's all that's left. She's the only thing left on the shelf. Vaughn is the only thing in the cupboard right now. And that's what we have. You have Rey. So we have to stick with her, because that is all they have left based on what they built, without them starting completely over from scratch.
See, I think that's a modified position from what how we had initially discussed it, that because they had already done that kind of damage, that they need to ride her out, because they can't reinvent unless they're willing to do the reinvention. That's your modification. And I agree with that, because before I would have hit you with the sunken fallacy challenge. Like, we're just throwing good money after bad, thinking anybody showing up to this woman's movie if it's just Rey in a vacuum doing Luke stuff that we wanted Luke to do on his own in this trilogy. Excuse me. But I still think that even if it's Disney at this point, I wonder if the sea change that we've seen some of their animated stuff, right? Inside Out 2, very successful. And this, I guess this segues kind of quickly into our other topic there for Disney. Inside Out 2, pretty big this year at the box office money-wise.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Moana 2, currently cleaning up to some degree right now.
Even though I am hearing bad reviews from parents who went to go see
I'm hearing
it.
the music's underwhelming, but kids seem to dig it, and that's really all parents care about is if the kids enjoy it, and it's not telling them anything I don't want them to be exposed to. Like the story, that won't matter to adults if their kids enjoy it, right? But it's making some bank. We just saw, not that Deadpool and Wolverine is animated, but they just made bank, delivering what people wanted. Fan service delivered the right way, funny, age appropriate to the rating, all that good stuff. So it seems to me that some people over there at the studio have figured it out to a degree that, hey, if we just do the job, if we just put this bullshit down and do the job, we'll be okay. We can make $1 billion a picture. Other studios have this figured out. Despicable Me just did Minions 17 or what, I don't even know what number they're on now. They made bank. Like, you can do this.
You just
Amara
make
J.
fun
movie could be
films.
Dude,
Make
it's
fun
not rocket
films.
science.
I mean, like we were talking about yesterday in our review of Dune Prophecy. If you haven't seen it, go watch our live stream. It's up on our channel. But how I said that you could do a story that has a slow pace like that, long as it's character and story driven and not, flashy, look over here type stories. And I think that's what Disney needs to get away from when it comes to the two IPs that are pretty much, well, actually they still haven't made their money back on Star Wars, but Marvel.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, don't buy that
Marvel's
bullshit.
Marvel's made their
Valuated
money
at
like
25
10
million.
times over.
Yeah.
So,
Fact.
but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
other
sold for
big
nothing.
IPs, when they make a fun story like Inside Out 2, Moana, they make their money. But as soon as they get preachy or they try to do flashy, don't really know story, let's destroy our legacy characters, they make no money. I mean, eventually you have to have someone. I mean, I'm here as a 40-something-year-old guy who just sees them like, if they just did this, they'll make tons of money. But they had to have people like me that work for them.
Dude, that's a running joke I have all the time when I'm by my parents' place with one of my younger brothers. I'm like, this wouldn't have sucked if they had just called me first. I feel like I could have just been like, listen, I'm the fly on the wall. You know what I mean? I'm just an outsider looking in. But it occurs to me that if you sell the car and you turn it on, you try to drive it, and it doesn't have like tires on it, it's gonna be a rough ride. You can't sell somebody the computer without the hard drive in it or pick vital component. Like, you just can't. That was a terrible example. I'm embarrassed, but still, but that's what they do. They take stuff that should basically be like buying what people call a turnkey business. Like, there's already a laundromat that operates, right? All you need to do is sign the check, pay for it, take the keys, and let people keep doing their wash. Like, you don't need to close and renovate and upgrade things for a modern audience with fancy new Bluetooth washers. Just let it go. Let it go. It's crazy. But that's what they do. They like to reinvent the wheel, and we see what we get. Like, dude, what do you think the odds are that Mufasa in a couple of weeks beats out Sonic 3? Like, what are the odds that actually beats out Sonic?
I don't believe it will, because like we were talking about, the live action Lion King is pretty much an animated movie with CGI, with them just shooting like real stuff during the thing. I think Sonic has also built that trust with the fans that is going to be a fun. Like, they listened to their fans when Sonic came out and looked horrible.
Those crappy graphics.
People going crazy on the former Twitters, and all of a sudden they went back to the drawing board and redid Sonic and made it better. And people are like, "Hey, they've earned our trust. We will trust what they make."
But see, and they're also copying the best parts of the Marvel format with Sonic as well, where in listening to people, they knew they needed to expand beyond Sonic and bring in Tails and bring in Knuckles. Then they listened to people. What'd they find out? People love Shadow. So what was the stinger scene at the end of part 2? Oh, we're already planning to do a part 3 with Shadow the Hedgehog in it. Here's a stinger scene with Shadow. Dude, people went crazy in the theater I was in. And you know what? It was grown-ups, because it was all of us that knew who it was. And all of our kids were like, Dad, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you're going to find out, son. You're about to find out about Shadow. And they delivered. So it's like, when you stick to the plan and you don't feel obligated to reinvent everything all the time, you win. But I think that's the danger with the Mara Jade thing, like May just said. And Brickhead, I see you there from a comment a couple of minutes ago. I trust Kevin Feige. Disney just can't intrude with all the woke crap. Dude, I don't trust this dude at all. I don't. This is the same guy that said after the success of the Infinity Stone saga that Phase 4, he said this right out of the gate. Phase 4 is going to be about changing things up, changing the roster, making it literally more diverse. And this is, I think, before even that kind of like lingo was being thrown out there as being like derogatory or anything like that. But like, we knew the path he was putting them on, is that he had said, we've had enough of these A-list characters from the movies anyway, making us a bunch of money. We're actually going to risk some studio cash and funding on these other things. And they had a couple of those things work for sure. Black Panther worked. I'm not trying to say Black Panther didn't work. It was a fairly mid movie, but they identified a target audience, tapped into a cultural collective consciousness, and delivered. They're not going to sit here and tell you that it wasn't. But like, look at some other crap like Black Widow. Like, dude, that movie's 10 years too late.
Yeah,
10 years too late.
This right here, this analogy right here that he put up is perfect on what Disney's doing to Star Wars.
Read them out. Read Majors out. That's a great point.
A mate of his was running an Italian restaurant. He passed away. His son changed the menu, changed the ingredients, and it went bust in a year. A business that ran for 30 years. Star Wars had fans that lined up to watch every special release of the same three. Every year they would try to watch the trilogy completely. I mean, you had these diehard fans, and then they try to change the ingredients. They try to change the way they did business when Disney bought it from Lucasfilms. And it just kind of sucked since then.
Well, dude, it's like the analogy, an additional kind of critical analogy that I'd like to make there on that subject, because I feel like, we're almost out of time anyway, so we'll hold these other topics, but I think this is a good wrap-up topic. We've got a movie in theaters right now, Wicked, doing very well. It's not quite doing as well as they want you to believe, because they've expanded to a 6-day total and are trying to compare to a 3-day opening total, which I think is disingenuous, but still it's making some bank, right? It's pleasing its target audience, which is commendable. And that's always been our complaint here on this channel. I said the same thing. You remember when Barbie came out last year, Kingsy? I went and saw Barbie. I didn't think it was that bad. It had its messaging, but it knew and I think they got it wrong too, because I felt kind of vindicated because the Kens were right, but that's neither here nor there. It knew who its target audience was. It were women that used to play with Barbies. Those are great songs. The best song in the movie. It was women that played with Barbies 30 years ago. It wasn't for girls today necessarily. They're aware of Barbie as an icon, but it really spoke to older women, right? Wicked is the same thing. It's an adaptation of that play that people already love. It has a built-in fan base, like Kingsley was just talking about. But in doing that, why on God's green earth would the producers of Wicked 2 bend to pressure from guys like us who might say, you know what, it needs a little bit more martial arts. You know what it really needed? It needed a couple of shootouts, maybe a couple of gun runs with an Apache gunship or something, and then bitch, whine, and complain that they don't put that stuff in there. Then it's not fucking Wicked anymore. You know what I mean? It's bastardized. It's not what they had. It wasn't the original vision. It's something completely different. But nobody ever seems to argue that counter. They always try to feminize the male stuff and not run that shit the other way. It's weird, isn't it? Weird.
See, and this is the reason why I have hope moving forward, Brick Kid, is because he has voiced that he made mistakes.
Yeah, to be fair.
He did own up to it, and he said that he's trying to change it. And I think that's why Born Again is going to be top-notch show, because
I think he was instrumental in getting that changed and throwing out the crap that they had filmed, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Brick Kid, I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. And I think it was Hulk that probably prompted a bunch of that crap. I think it did, especially the bits where Tatiana Maslany after the fact is bitch whining and complaining about not getting a season 2 and not understanding how she didn't get paid what people like Chris Evans got paid for Captain America. I'm like, really? You don't understand that? Okay, Orphan Black, take it down a fucking peg. That's why you didn't get paid.
And she's now been removed from the channel art now too.
Okay, that probably has nothing to do with
Deadpool.
She-Hulk being terrible. It's just funny. I mean, it is kind of just funny. But again, it's like they don't seem to get it until it's too late. So maybe he recovers. I mean, 100% She-Hulk. That's where they figured out they needed to revert. Dude, 100%. Dude, they wrote themselves into such a terrible corner on that show by actually referencing and then trying to deny that they weren't referencing real life critics like Doomcock and the people that like his channel and his reviews. Like, you wrote yourself a boogeyman that doesn't exist in real life, that has any kind of power over affecting your show. You wrote the crap show. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. You know, I wish I had that kind of power to get the Acolyte canceled. I definitely did not. I tried. Like, I tried my damnedest. But fire and space commentary didn't move the needle at Disney. And that's why they seem to be on the course that they're on. Kevin Davis right there. You got Kevin Horn. Hey, Travis, what's going on, dude? Welcome back. We missed you. Bring me up.
Come catch up on the conversation.
Yeah, dude, I know, right? As we're about to wrap up. Marvel Studios is going to play it safe, not to offend people, keep family honest. Dude, I hope so. But again, I think the gunk in the works for these guys at this point, right, is they don't understand what the majority, I would say at this point, across the board, considers family friendly. They're going to think that as long as they don't target specific drag queen type stuff to kids, that's family friendly enough. They won't understand that the reason Lightyear bombed had everything to do with the reason Lightyear bombed. And I'm trying to be as sensitive to that whole bit as I can be, you know, an hour into the show. Like, it had to do with a couple of creative decisions in the movie about certain characters kissing certain other characters. No other reason. There's just, people are not going to be okay. There's a certain population that'll never be okay with that. And you can't target, you have to scale back. I think Chris Gore said this a couple of times on Film Thread. I love that channel. I'll reference him in it a lot as we do our streams, because he's a bright guy. You can make whatever movie you want. The fascism would be if I told you couldn't make the movie and actively campaigned against you acquiring private funds to make whatever expression of creativity you want to do that isn't child prawn, right? But you can't make a $300 million animated movie and target it at 5% of the population. Can't do it. You know, E.T. didn't target 5% of the population. Jaws didn't target 5% of the population. Indiana Jones, 5%. There's a reason those are all the movies we still talk about on these channels, and channels that poo-poo the classics like that, they never gain any traction poo-pooing them because they're unpoo-pooable. It just doesn't work. You know, so they have to scale those kind of things back. Right. That's what I'm saying. It should just have people being people. Yeah. It can be done.
And the thing that they were doing with it is that they were doing it at the expense of story.
Right. And that's always
it
our
became more important than the story and the plot. And that's where they dropped the ball, is that it became so important to them that they couldn't do that. It was making stuff just bad because they had to make sure they got all their talking points in first before they could actually hit the points of the story and the plot. And I think that's where things started really going downhill on a lot of those shows.
Well, I think that's kind of the definition we've adopted for our coverage on certain things about when we talk about progressive and woke and this and that. It's when your creative decisions come at the distraction or the detriment of story that it becomes unacceptable to watch. You know, and as long as you stick on subject, on theme, and hit those story beats, I actually don't care what you do cast wise, but I think you should respect source. I think you just should. You know. Andre says, I think we overestimate the general audience knowledge of things. I think the impact of that kiss was almost insignificant on Lightyear's failure. I don't know. True. There were more problems, but it came at an exact moment in kind of the cultural zeitgeist, especially with the stuff going on in Florida and all the stuff that Disney was having with DeSantis and those issues. Remember my history correctly. So I think it became the face of that issue in that movie. There were other problems. Sure, the movie wasn't good. You know, I think that's just how that was. And Travis with there we go. Yeah, that's exactly right. Every single movie with a gay character. Exactly right. That's what I mean. Just, dude, find a superhero, write a new superhero. I don't care what his orientation is, but make the B and C plots about something other than his relationship like that.
Yeah.
You know, you can just do other more interesting things. Write them like a hetero character and move on. And move the fuck on. So I mean, I think that's dude, we had 2 other topics. I think we're gonna have to sit on the Popeye the Slayer Man topic. We will sit on that for next year or something when it comes out. Because I think next week we're doing do we decide on happy-go-lucky Christmas movies? Is that the jam?
Yeah, I think we're doing that, and then we're also going to have a video announcing something that we are looking forward to do. Since
that's the surprise.
Yep, we'll have more information on that as we get closer to it. But we are happy that all of you are here. I'm loving the interaction in the chat. I think this is one of our most active chats that we've had. This one, and then Dune Prophecy, which we do on Tuesday nights. So go ahead and check that out. I really do appreciate all of you. I hope you all have a great night. And with that said,
wait, were you doing it? I'm not doing the outro again. It's you. We're back on FrostCast.
All right. Well, see ya.